Welcome back to what Arty Noobs for General Disturbance. This is an FCM 36. It's a tier 2 French light tank. It's located on the south spawn of mines and it's under the command of Jason Thomas. Now Jason sent us some rather interesting replays in the past and this one really caught my eye because of how well he does. So watch and be amazed. Well, the FCM 36, they built 100 of these. And it was the only French vehicle pre-war that was actually powered by a diesel engine. It's got fairly good armour, not absolutely fantastic, but it's still decent. And when he's mounting a 25cm cannon, or 25mm cannon, not a 25cm one, that would be absolutely enormous. No, it's a 25mm cannon. Now, that's got decent penetration, and it's instead of the 37mm cannon that this one otherwise can carry, but just lacks the penetration to deal with enemy tanks. Now the reason why he's sitting at the back is that this tank is very much best as a support tank, and he's just got a lovely shot into that BT7 and well, a couple of shots into him as he circles the rock before going into the hill, or into the castle grounds I should say. You see our guys have gone up there and they're exchanging fire with the enemy tanks behind the rock. And Jason really doesn't have much to do with the battle at this particular stage. We're just basically watching as it unfolds. But later on, he will have a lot to do with this battle. A great lot to do. A huge amount. Oh! Now, did he accidentally hit one of his own teammates there? I think he might have. Now that might have an effect upon the end of battle results. Well, we'll see that later on. I think he was aiming for the gap, and I'm pretty sure the tank between him and the gap actually took the round instead. But it didn't do him any damage, of course. It just unfortunately blocked the shot. Now the enemy is sending two tanks around the islands and the water. Got a cruiser one in the water, a Fiat 3000 is just making it over to South Island, a Strid FM21, or the Shoe, I think, is on the middle island. There's the cruiser one. Okay, so he's going to deal with these guys because he can easily pen them. His reload time about 2 seconds, which is actually quite good at this tier. Not bad. He's having difficulty penning that cruiser 2, or cruiser 1 rather. Ah, that's better. He got it through the turret this time. And, oh, one of our guys just jumped off the cliff to deal with him and fell to his death. But he's getting some nice shots into the cruiser 1. The alpha damage on this gun is particularly low. As you'll see, it's only about 27 hit points, but it does penetrate 46mm of armor with standard, and that goes up to 68 with the APCR. Now he's carrying a healthy load of standard ammo and just a few premium rounds just in case. I mean, there are a few FCM 36s, or one FCM 36 on the enemy team as well. In a sense, they're a bit like the Hotchkiss in that they're a bit of a troll tank having good armor but just a very weak gun. Well, all the guys who went up the centre have now been wiped out. And he's now dealing with some of the remainders who are coming down. In fact, the enemy is coming down the hill. It's a Husenka, the Czech tier 1, and he got dealt with fairly quickly. Jason Thomas has only got 1 kill so far. Just that cruiser. Now remember, there's an FCM, or FCM, there's a Fiat 3000 on the South Island. So whilst he deals with this M2 like that, Fiat is making his way over to the west side. So he might be about to have some visitors. As you also notice that at some ranges the shell lacks penetration. At close ranges it's fairly okay, but once the enemy tank gets far enough away, the shells no longer have the penetration they once had, and it's difficult to get the rounds through anything. But he's still doing whatever damage he can. Now he's having a quick check to see if that Fiat 3000's arrived. Yes, he has. Puts one into him straight away. 2. He's still there. He's auto-aimed on. Just keep pumping those rounds in. The Fiat's trying to penetrate him, but just can't, because it's very tough armor for the Fiat to get through. It's nearly 14 millimeters, the armor. And now he's had to come around the corner to deal with the Fiat. Oh! And he was taking rounds from the Fiat 3000 up on the hill, I think that was. Or is it? No, it's the near one. So the guy's gone all the way round, and now he's dead. Okay, so he's now one of only 3 left on his team, and there's still 9 enemies out there. Track the guy. And that guy goes down to our LOL tractor. Or Leica tractor, I should say. Okay, well, the M2 is the closest. The FCM 36 on the enemy team is probably headed this way, and he's used up all his premium ammo now, so he's not going to have anything premium to deal with that FCM. And you saw how much trouble the Fiat had trying to pen the armor of the FCM. So yeah, when FCM meets FCM, it gets to be a bit interesting. You have to go for weak spots. And oh, it's the M2 Lights decided to come here. So just auto aim on, that's it. Oh, hasn't done it yet. He's just aiming it manually, but you see the FCM on the enemy team is still firing at him and not getting through. And he's pumping rounds into that M2 Light. He's doing it manually. Oh, that's better. He's gone to a sniper view. Ah, that's better. Yes, and he's got his 3rd kill. Now, whilst he was doing that, I'm afraid he's now down to just 1 teammate. Yep. Light Tractor is the last one left, and he's facing an MS1 and another Light Tractor. As you know, oh, there he goes. He's now the last one alive, and, well, I'm afraid he's facing 6 enemies. So this is potential Kolobanov's time. He's only got 3 kills, but his win rate so far is up to 1034. Whoa, that's the amount of damage he's done, rather. And he's trying to get shots into the MS1. Yeah, they're starting to cap. He bounced that one off the MS. And he gets the Light Tractor. Can't see the MS now, he's just outside view range. But he knows the guy's still there because he's still capping. So he wasn't on target, so he's going to have to move to the centre rock. And there is a Renault Otsu somewhere up on top of the hill. Well, at least there was, and there's the MS1. And he can just keep pumping those rounds in. The MS is going to find it very difficult to penetrate the armour of his FCM, especially the frontal armour. It's 14mm thick. His shells won't do that. And he goes down. So 5 kills now. There's still 4 enemies out there. Potentially he's also got the high caliber. But of course he did hit his teammate, so we'll have to see if he actually manages to get that medal. Now there's a wall between him and the FCM, but he's going to try and knock that down. At the moment, most of the shells just bouncing off the enemy FCM, just as they would, or if the enemy was firing at him. They did earlier. And this is, at moments like this, it's where you regret firing your premium ammo because you needed it for this target. But that's not going to stop Jason. He'll keep plugging away. There are weak spots on the FCM that you can pen. Notably the rear, the engine deck, or the grills at the side to the engine, the radiator vents. There's the FCM. Now aim for the weak spots. He got that one in. It went through the side. You've got to watch out for the tracks though, because the tracks are fairly heavy armour. There, he got that one through the engine vent. Just aim for the rear of the engine deck. That's the way to get it in. That'll just track him. If you aim for the tracks. Oh, that one went in. It went through. Oh no, he's getting armour non-penetrating now. He's getting some shots in, and he's using the rock for cover. And the rest of the enemies don't appear to be trying to attack him at the same time. If they wanted to, they could. Yeah, he's having the same difficulty penetrating, but he's got plenty of ammo. It's really cheap ammo as well. And I think he seems to have found a spot where he can track that FCM and go into the hitbox. Yep, those rounds are going in. One more. Oh! In fact, he's going to need 2 more penetrating shots, and that FCM will go down. Well, he got one into us this time. That one won't go through. Oh, that one did! And now he's got a top gun. There's only 3 enemies remaining. Now, sadly, you can't get a Radley Walters at tier 2. Only starts at tier 5, so even if he was to kill all the remaining enemies, he's sadly going to miss out on the Radleys, but he'll give it as good as he can. Now, the 3 remaining enemies are Fiat 3000, the Renault Otsu, and that Shoe. There he is, there's the Shoe. Actually a German tank, that one, which was sent to Sweden when they were actually building them, and they were equipping them in the Swedish army, but they were actually being worked on and researched by the Germans at the same time. Basically, it was a cover operation, allowing them to build these sort of tanks whilst they weren't allowed to by the Treaty of Versailles. And it's actually quite a decent tank, and there's one of these at Aslains, and the director of the Aslains Museum said that that was his favourite tank. At least I think he did. Pretty sure he did. Go for it. Yes! 2 less to go. Oh, and the Renault's firing from the hill, and he's got the machine gun. Now, the machine gun's got fairly decent penetration, but very low in the way of hit points of damage. Unfortunately for the Renault Otsu driver, he's not firing premium rounds. He's firing standard rounds, and of course they're just not going to pen. Well, the Otsu's backed off. Of course, the Otsu is basically a Japanese rip-off of the FT-17. Or sort of. Of course, a lot of countries after the First World War built tanks under license, and even the Americans did. The Americans built the FT-17 under license in America, and General George S. Patton, that's his first tank. He had a Renault or an FT-17 built in America, but that was the tank he first learnt to drive in, or to command. In fact, there's a picture of him standing as a lieutenant next to his FT-17 tank, and I think that's rather sweet, actually, considering what he used to do, what he did during World War II. Well, so far he's racked up 1,939 hit points of damage. He's blocked over 1,000 hit points of damage. And I should think at this point he's probably got at least a cool-headed, if not possibly a steel wall as well. In fact, I think it's almost a certainty he's got a steel wall. And that's the 2-minute hooter. He's still got to find and kill 2 enemies in order to win, but we haven't seen that Fiat 3000, and he might be an AFK. So if he can kill this Renault up on top of the hill, then he can then... Oh, there he is, he's still here! He's going to fire straight through the front of that tank, no problem. The 25mm rounds will just go straight through the metal. And that is his 8th kill. So the equivalent of Radley Walters, but unfortunately no medal, because he can't earn it at this tier. I know, it's dreadful. I've been in this situation myself. You've done all the effort, you've scored all the kills, but they won't give you the medal. Well, he's just got to go over now and find out, is that Fiat 3000 still at the spawn point? And if it is, well, it's time for him to kill it. That's the last minute, and yes, there's the Fiat! And he is AFK. I know many would be tempted to get a Faden's medal out of this one by getting rid of most of your shells, but I don't think he can get rid of 160 shells in 40 seconds. So I think he's just going to do what he can, take this guy out and win game. He's just got to do it in 35 seconds. Yes! He's done it! And that was a really good battle. He held on against 6 enemies. And that is a Kolobanov. Let's have a look at the end of battle results for this one. Oh my god, he's got his first ace tanker in the FCM 36. You can tell it's the first because he's got the scrolls underneath and you only get that the first time. He also managed to pick up a fire effect for doing more damage than the hit points for his own vehicle, a sharpshooter for getting 10 or more consecutive shots on the enemy, a shell proof for blocking more damage than the hit points for his own vehicle, a master gunner getting 5 armor penetrating shots in a row, a duelist for taking out 2 tanks who damaged him, a hand of God for surviving the battle having received damage from 4 different enemy tanks, and finally a bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In that one he got 20. But best of all, he picked up some epics and some battle heroes as well. The epic medal is the one that everyone would like to get. The Kolobanov Medal, it means you stood alone and you defeated, well, normally at least 5. In this case it was 6 enemies. But at least 5 enemies and were victorious. He got a cool headed for blocking surviving at least 10 ricochets, a steel wall for blocking the most damage in the game, at least 1,000 hit points and more than 11 hits. I think he received a lot more than that. And he also got a top gun, but for killing 6 enemies. But unfortunately, there's no high caliber showing, and I think we know why. His win rate for the game was 44,041. 44,000. That's the highest win rate I've ever seen so far in World of Tanks for a single battle. So very well done to Jason Thomas. Let's have a look at the team score and we'll see exactly why I think he missed out on his high caliber. Yep, he did have the highest amount of damage easily. 2,267 hit points of damage. The next highest score was the BT2 on the enemy team with 915, and after that the M2 Lite with 876. Nobody on his own team managed to get above 500 hit points and damage, so he carried that team on his back the whole way. He actually did kill 3/5 of the enemy team, nearly 2/3 of the enemy team, nearly, not quite, just 1 tank out from 2/3. He got the next highest score in terms of kills, by the way, was in fact that M2 Lite on the enemy team. He managed to get 4 kills and he picked up a cool headed during that game as well. And there was a bunch of tanks who managed to get 2 kills apiece, the rest only getting 1 or none. And when it came to base XP, well, of course, he was over 1,000. And when you get over 1,000 at this tier, you are easily an ace tanker. And it's quite a high ace tanker, 1,005 base XP. And you can see how far above he is the other players. Because look, the highest that the next person could get was 378, nearly almost 1/3 of that level. 303 for the light tractor. In fact, actually, the best on the enemy team was above that light tractor. He got 335, the M2 Lite. So let's have a look at detail. 146 shots fired, 122 of them were direct hits on the enemy, but only 89 were penetrations. Yes, the 25mm cannon is fairly good for its tier, but in terms of the fact that it does have decent penetration, but up against something like another FCM or a tank that's got decent armor, it can be difficult to get those shots to go in. 2,267 hit points of damage, of which 268 were at more than 300 meters. He received 54 hits from the enemy, only 4 of which penetrated, and 50 non-penetrations. 1,068 hit points of damage blocked by his armor. He spotted 2 enemy vehicles, damaged 12 of the enemy, killed 9 of them, and did 40 hit points of damage assistance, and got 55 defense points by resetting the cap while those guys were capping. In fact, actually, he could have ended up with a defender medal if he just let one of those tanks like the light tractor cap there for a little while before resetting it. On a premium count, he earned 32,418 credits from a tier 2 game. That's pretty efficient. 30,000 for completing the mission and events, and total 62,418. And after repair and ammunition resupply, and even firing as many premium rounds as he did, and he didn't fire that many, but even firing all those premium rounds, he still made a hefty profit of 45,573 credits. He got 25 bonds for the game. And he also picked up 1,507 XP times... No, he's not getting any multipliers. He's actually got a reward for completing the mission of 6,032. So his total is 7,539. But I think the the bit at the end is that's sad is that he missed out on the high caliber because of that shot he fired up at the center, which accidentally hit his own teammate. Now, it didn't damage his teammate, but it did disqualify him from getting a high caliber. So as they say, you know, if you're firing near your teammates, be sure that you don't hit them, because if you do hit them, you are going to be missing out on the high caliber. And if you troll any of your teammates or you know, fire at them, even in jest, you are going to miss out on a high caliber, even if you did all the effort. And this has happened to ordinary players as well as to super unicums. So do be careful where you fire, because sometimes it can have consequences further down the line. But even so, it's a great effort by Jason Thomas, a very high win 8, a lovely ace tanker, Kolobanov, cool-headed, Steel War and Top Gun for a very, very good game in the FCM 36. So if you enjoyed that replay, please do give this video a like and subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment down below the video, and thank you for watching.